Good evening. The zoning board of appeals for the town of New Canaan will come to order on March 3rd, 2025 at 7:04 p.m. I'm going to briefly explain how it works. When we call your case, we ask that each presenter come up to the lectern, identify themselves and the property in question, state the request of the board, and identify the hardships and the reason for the request. Remember, the hardship cannot be financial in nature. It must run with the land and be peculiar to your property. The board will then ask questions of you, after which you will sit down and we will give those present an opportunity to speak. You will then be given an opportunity to respond to any questions and to sum up your request. We record the meeting and one of our members is also on Zoom. So everyone must speak into the microphone and state his or her name. The board will then go into business session, discuss the matter and make a decision. There are 5 voting members of the board and it takes 4 affirmative votes to be granted a variance. Why don't we start by taking attendance? Chad, do you want to start?
Chad Book, present.
Jessica Carden, present.
Cynthia Doe, present.
Luke Tashton, present.
Rich Caratu, present.
Alex Snyder, present.
So the 5 of us here are going to be the ones deciding the decision. Chad's an alternate, and he's also going to participate in it. If you have any questions or your children have any questions, of course, they can say something as well. So our first matter tonight is 50 White Oak Shade, zoning variance upon application of Connor McMullen, authorized agent for Natalie A. Avalone, owners for variance of sections 3.5.d and 3.5e to allow additions in excess of the permitted building coverage and within the side yard setback in the 1 acre zone at 50 White Oak Shade Road, map 37, block 88, lot 89. Do we have all the mailing receipts in?
Please. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, what are the 2 children's names? Sienna.
This is Carter.
Sienna and Carter. So the way this works is your parents are applying for an exception to the zoning for your brother. And Connor, you're an attorney, right? Or architect?
Rick Costantini.
Oh, Rick Costantini.
Yeah, sorry. I'm handling.
So you're the architect, you said?
No, the attorney.
Oh, the attorney.
Yeah.
So Rick's gonna come up and present his case. He's gonna explain why we should make the exception, which must run with the land. And then if there was someone who had a comment, they'd hear it. And then we would reach a decision on it. So to start, Rich, why don't you come up and present your application?
Can you hear me okay? All right, thank you.
Yes.
My name is Rick Costantini. I work at the law firm of FLB Law in Westport, Connecticut. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, which is the Natalie A. Avalone Revocable Trust. That's the owner of the property. This is with regards to 50 White Oak Shade Road in New Canaan. We're here seeking 2 variances, a coverage variance and also a side yard setback variance. So before I discuss the actual variances, I just want to introduce a couple other people here with me tonight. Rob Leesgang is the contractor for the project, and Peter Avalone, Carter, and Sienna behind me. I'll give you a little bit of background as to why we're here tonight. Peter's son Carter is nine years old, has cerebral palsy. He's confined to a wheelchair, obviously, and requires extensive physical therapy, which occurs at the home. As part of his care, Carter receives total parenteral nutrition feeding, TPN for short, which is essentially a method of feeding that delivers nutrients directly into the vein. Due to the treatment, Carter must be kept out of direct sunlight while he undergoes the treatment. My understanding is that is continuous and will be continuous going forward. Obviously, as Carter continues to grow, so will the hardware and equipment necessary to allow him to move around his home, attend school in New Canaan, and as well as other activities. So along with the application materials we provided, we submitted an article that I hope you have had a chance to read as part of the application materials. It's clear how much my clients and Carter love the New Canaan community and want to continue building their lives here. Obviously, unfortunately, due to Carter's condition, Their home does require certain changes to allow Carter to continue to receive the care and quality of life he deserves in his home. So these changes that are necessary obviously necessitate us being here today asking for the two variants. So I'll discuss the two variances fairly as quickly as possible. First is a coverage variance that would allow the Avalon home family to add the following to their house. First, a garage capable of parking a larger van equipped with a ramp system, which will accommodate Carter's wheelchair. Right now, the family's van is able to fit in the existing garage. And Peter and his wife Natalie picked Carter up from his wheelchair and placed him in the vehicle. As Carter's equipment gets larger and heavier, they will obviously need the larger garage to accommodate a larger van to allow ingress and egress into the vehicle. This will also help protect Carter during inclement weather, as well as provide a safe place to enter and exit the vehicle outside of direct sunlight because he can't be in direct sunlight per his treatment. So the second aspect we're asking for is an elevator that will allow Carter to travel to the various floors of his house. Currently, his main living space is on the first floor. He has, there's a basement area where he does his physical therapy. And again, similar to with the van, his parents carry him up and down the stairs as needed, but obviously as he gets older and as his parents get older, that will become more difficult. And then finally, there's two covered patio areas in the rear of the property that we're seeking as part of the coverage variance. It will allow Carter to enjoy time with his family and friends outdoors while protecting him from direct sunlight due to his treatment. The patio themselves are not what requires the variance. It's the fact that there's a covering over the patio area is what is necessitating the need for the variance. And again, this is meant to allow Carter to be able to enjoy time with his family and friends at his home outdoors with his family and friends, as I said. The section 3.5D of the zoning reg states that the subject property is allowed a building coverage of 4,150.6 square feet. The property is currently non-conforming as it has just over 4,200 square feet of coverage. We're requesting an increase to construct the elevator, the garage, and the covered patios, and that would bring it to 5,939 square feet. With regards to the setback variance, this is the second variance obviously we're requesting. This will allow for the construction of the garage. Section 3.5E provides that for the subject property, the minimum side yard setback is 25 feet. What we're asking, as it currently exists, the house and property are conforming. There's no issues there. What we're asking for is a variance to allow for a side yard setback here of 17 feet, which would give it 8 feet less than what's required. The need here obviously is to allow for the larger garage, which would allow for the larger van to park and then ingress and egress into the van under an enclosed structure. We read through the planner's memorandum prepared in consultation with the town attorney's office, and which states that pursuant to the Fair Housing Amendment Act of 1988, town of New Canaan must make reasonable accommodations to ensure that members of the community with a disability have fair access to housing. As such, unlike other variance applications, here, there's no need to make a finding of a hardship. The question becomes whether or not what is requested is reasonable, and that's the determination you get to make, is whether what is being requested is a reasonable request. We do believe it's a reasonable accommodation based on the factors here. As proposed, Carter, with the elevator, will have easier access to the various floors of his house, make it easier to go into the basement area, which is where they perform physical therapy. His main living space is on the first floor, but it would also allow him access up to the third floor of the house as well. The addition of the garage would make it suitable for a larger vehicle, which is going to become a necessity as Carter gets older. This serves twofold. One, it allows for the larger van, which is going to be able to cater to larger equipment as he gets older, but also provide an area for him to get into and out of the van, out of direct sunlight and out of inclement weather. Finally, the covered patios will allow Carter to enjoy the full extent of his family's home, providing a safe and covered space outdoors to be with the family. So we think that this is a reasonable accommodation to allow Carter to enjoy all everything his house has to offer, understanding that it is a request for additional coverage and the side yard setback. I think the article that was in the application shows how much Carter's thriving in the New Canaan community. We believe these are reasonable accommodations and it will ensure that he can continue to thrive here. address the needs that are going to be coming forward with the additional hardware and equipment that will be necessary. So with that, I'll end and open it up to board members if they have specific questions regarding the application.
Yep, Rich Caratu.
Nice to meet you.
And question, so with the van that, you know, eventually will be needed, so access to the van for Carter would be from the side of the van, that's why the width would help? Is
Typically,
that-
yes. So
Okay.
typically with larger vans that accommodate the larger equipment, and Peter's here to speak to that more clearly, but envision similar to a handicap parking space where you have the space, but you also need the space next to it
Right,
to provide the ingress and egress into the vehicle.
okay. And then the coverage on the patio, so it would be sort of like an awning or some type of, from the house coming over the patio?
Speak to the construction.
Probably Skang Builder for the Avalones here.
You can come on, so you can speak this mic.
As we submitted with the package, the two covered porches would have roofs similar to a house.
Okay, right, okay.
That come down low enough so the sun won't come in at the midday and come into those porches. So it's
Okay.
a frame structure similar to a house with 4 posts on each corner.
Right.
If you go to the next page,
So it's fully enclosed with?
No
windows?
walls.
No walls.
just a roof. We want fresh air,
Mhm.
but the fact that
Is it okay if I stand up? Is that-
Sure.
Absolutely.
That'd be helpful.
So as you can see, it's the posts
Right,
and then the top, same thing here, post, but it's open air to the patio.
okay.
And you can see on the other small is the elevator portion of the structure on the exterior, which makes up a very small part of the coverage request.
Jessica Carden, I noticed on the plan that there was also some other new spaces that were in the design plan, including bathrooms and other spaces, which I presume are adding to the coverage that's being built.
Yes.
No.
Well,
Sorry,
Go
no,
ahead.
those are renovations to existing portions of the home. Connor's bathroom, we are making, I will call it ADA handicap accessible. So it's going to require some renovations of current existing portions of the home. So that is not
Okay,
part of
it,
what we're
it
asking.
wasn't very clear from the submission of what was gonna be specifically very new versus
Sorry, yeah.
adapted, and so I just wanted to
So
understand
the only
that.
3 items that are being requested that are new are the elevator shaft,
Right.
the 2 porches, as I consider as one item, and then the garage itself. The garage has no space, living or usable space above it or living space below it. It's strictly storage. So it's just the garage itself.
with the bathroom.
There is a bathroom in the back corner of the garage. Yes, that's a handicap bathroom. I apologize. As you get out of the vehicle, when Connor gets home, sometimes we need to go to the bathroom quickly. So that is in the garage portion. The other renovations are not.
And there wasn't an opportunity here to consider just adapting the current or expanding slightly the current garage spaces.
Current garage, it has a height limitation that we can't get the garage doors tall enough and or wide. There's 3 garage doors there now and there's about 12 inches between them. And the new van requires a 10-foot door to get the vehicle in and out. It's right now Connor's in what everyone would consider a minivan. As we get older, he'll be into a Sprinter van, a Sprinter 110, 144, which has like a kind of like a delivery Amazon vehicle you see coming around, just to give you a point of reference of the physical size of the vehicles.
And my final question, sorry,
All right.
a lot. Had there been any consideration to a retractable awning for the back patio instead of a firm, complete structure?
Yes, there has. The actual original, we thought of that. The problem with that is that the use of it during, if it was snow load, we can't leave that out. It doesn't give full coverage. So a full-sized roof would enable us to keep everything out there. And then rain on a lot of those retractable awnings kind of pushes them in. So we were concerned that it wouldn't be a permanent structure and we couldn't leave it out at all times. His mother's home with him a lot. It's not something they're not big enough that you can crank it out on electronically.
So the garage on plan A1 on the right side, that's the new garage is being added, and the one on the bottom is the existing garage, so it's gonna have parking for 5 cars, or what's the plan with the 3-car garage?
Three-car garage will remain as is.
Where is the two-car garage, then it's attached to the home?
Correct.
Can you pull up the survey? Is it okay to pull up the
Yeah,
survey?
go back.
Thank you, if you don't mind. Thank you. Sorry, I brought hard copies tonight because it was my first in-person meeting in front of a board in 4 years because of COVID.
We
Do everything
appreciate it.
virtually.
If you have hard copies, you can pass them around.
And I have poster board, large size, like, but not individual,
Oh,
sorry.
yes.
It was the first time. So, as you can see, here's the existing home with the patio in the back. Here's the covered, the first covered, area. Second covered area here. And as you can see, connected to the garage, which is existing, is access into the proposed garage here. The bathroom area would be in this corner here, which would provide a handicap accessible bathroom from the outdoor into the garage area, plus also exiting the vehicle, go right into the bathroom. But then access to the house would be through this here.
Could you please explain why the new garage has to be 2 stalls and not 1?
So, sorry, let me get it from. And Rob might be able to speak to a little bit easier to it, but similar to a handicap parking space, requiring the extra space to the side of the vehicle, because the access to the vehicle, typically the ramp comes down to the side
I
and
see.
not to the front. So you need that space to the side to be able to get in and out of the van.
So the second bay is not to park a second car. It's so that the van would have sufficient room to.
Really?
Yes.
Correct. It's going to provide the access into the vehicle.
And you said the current 3-car garage, because obviously those doors could be altered, so you had a double door and a single door. Was that considered?
No, the height.
The height,
The height as
it's the
well.
height of the height of the vehicle that they're looking at would not fit in there.
Not the width.
But to that point, that Alex raised, for the new structure that's being considered, was one single large bay considered for a smaller spatial plan that would still accommodate getting in and out of a Sprinter style vehicle?
The original thoughts we had were that, one, the width of the vehicle at 10 feet, and then the ramp itself was about 7.5 feet, which is almost a full bay. So the ramp comes down, Connor still needs to exit off of that ramp.
Mhm.
So even though the ramp is down, we still need room to come over. Too bad you didn't see Connor get out of his vehicle when he got here. And like I said, just like a handicap spot, the ramp itself comes down, but then you need to be able to get off the ramp.
I think they've addressed the need. I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
Yep. I am too.
Could I ask a question back on the elevator? I thought you said there was no new space, but I see a new closet on the footprint next to the elevator that looks like it's outside of the current
Yeah.
footprint.
That new elevator requires a mechanical closet
Mhm.
adjacent to it. So on the basement level is a
Okay.
room that's approximately 4 foot by 4 foot.
Mhm.
That houses the hydraulic equipment for the elevator itself.
How much the new bathroom that would be in the garage, how much square footage for the proposed added coverage is that?
Probably 7 by 7, so 50 square feet approximately.
Okay,
It's
so
just, it's not a full,
It's a
bed.
small portion of what the total request.
It's a
is.
toilet and a sink is all it is.
Carter and Sienna, you could go to South School? I think I see you every morning. My son's 8. And you get dropped off at the door next to the parking lot, right?
Yes.
You're a very nice boy. I had a dog that passed away recently. He pet him almost every morning. You're a nice boy, Carter. So, very, very pleasant.
I've got a question on and forgive my ignorance, on the TPN feeding. Is that something that's at mealtime, or is Carter? So it's continuous all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it can be,
You can come up to.
I don't wanna go into this unless you feel a need for
I
it
feel a
on the
need to ask the
record.
questions.
Why?
Why?
Why? Well, the statement was made that Carter can't be in the sunlight, and that's the reason for the accommodation for the covered patios, correct?
So I think that's
I think
sufficient.
that's sufficient.
Yeah, we're not doctors. We
No, I'm-
could take that. as
I'm not,
read.
I just
I
reviewed.
feel uncomfortable you asking
Yeah,
that
yeah,
question.
I do.
I
I don't
just-
want to have it.
I-
History in the
I
public
think-
record.
I just reviewed what was submitted in the public.
That's okay. He made the statement why it's needed on the oath and on the record. We are not doctors. We take his word for it. I feel uncomfortable of any health related question being asked. I think it's not appropriate.
I think considering we're just trying to clarify all points of a pretty substantial coverage request, that this is reasonable, it's okay to ask if it is, if it's, I think you stated earlier when you were doing the presentation that it is a continuous, kind of an intravenous. So much like someone who might, just be going through something with dialysis or something where it's like connected. So if you could just confirm that quickly.
Yeah, I'll defer to Peter.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else on the board have any questions? Chad, do you have any questions on Zoom?
Yeah, no other questions from the site plan, but was just curious if, maybe neighbors, Matthew and Catherine Bloom or any other neighbors kind of on either shared access way, kind of behind the subject property had any either letters of support or concerns, maybe just with regards to, screening and slope drainage, those types of things.
There's currently screening in place on all those property lines from the previous owner, and then Peter and his family, they put a pool in that you see in blue on there, and added screening last year. All the downward slope is being taken care of with the drainage plan that would be submitting with this.
Any letters for or against? Can we, is
I
that?
don't think so.
And is the pool in the current, that's in the 4210 current square footage? The pool?
The pool does not apply, right?
No. Pool's not gonna-
Pools don't apply to the garage or patios.
Is there anyone on Zoom for or against this who wants to speak? No one being for or against this, I'd move that we move into business session unless someone on this board has further questions for the applicant.
I guess the only final question I have is with the covered patios, obviously there's two. Again, it's hard to tell from the plans. What is the approximate square footage or coverage for each of them? And was it considered to just have one larger one and not have two? Is there a reason for why there would be two?
The reason for two is that if in the one location that Carter can get to easily from his bedroom, if we put two up, we'd block all the windows to the back of the house. So you'll see there's a small one at the back of the chimney where it won't block the sunlight. And then there's the two patios to serve two purposes. One is an area that's going to be open so that Carter can do things outside. So there's nothing underneath it. And then the other area has a seating area. So like if they're eating dinner, they can sit in that area. So I don't think a large one would have fit in that space well. And like I said, it would have blocked a lot of those natural sunlight that comes into the back of the house inside.
And to answer your question, it's 774 square feet of it. And that could be a possible condition of approval is that 774 square feet remain covered patio and can never be finished interior space.
Well,
That makes
isn't
you more comfortable.
granted as for the applicant, is that implicit? That it stays open, or do we have
Yeah,
to
but in the future, if,
specify that it stays open?
yeah, you could specify that it remains covered patio and can't be finished space.
I would include that as a condition
You would, right? Yeah,
in that existing screening
agreed.
on the, I can't tell what's the north, I guess it's the south side remain, side closest to the line. Anyone else have anything to say? Connor, Sienna, we're democracy here, everyone gets to talk. Everyone gets their 2 cents, no? Okay, well, thank you for coming. Good luck with everything, I'll see you tomorrow morning at school. Okay, so I'd move that we move into business session.
Okay.
Second it?
Second it.
Okay. I don't know if we need to second that, but, it seems to me that it's a reasonable accommodation. I would add that condition that what's depicted as open patio now remain open. And that on the southerly side, stay screened as it is. They maintain the screening on that side. It seems to me that it's a reasonable accommodation for the condition as noted by the town council in the plaintiff's memorandum. I'd also note that it is a unique lot with the topography on it, where even absent that condition, I could imagine us, I don't know if we would go coverage necessarily, but I could imagine us otherwise, considering the topography of this lot, and granting anyone an accommodation.
Yeah, I agree,
Not
Mike.
necessarily coverage though, but it's unique in topography and in reasonably need.
Like Rich character, like Jessica was mentioning, I did think about the awning because we have one and it, electric. However, I do agree when it's windy, you need to worry about that. When it rains, it's got to be retracted in and, we just have outdoor furniture underneath of it, so it could get wet, right? So
Correct.
it's not going to really suit the purposes, but I think, I did, think about it along with Jessica, line of thinking, whether that made sense. And in this case, I agree it doesn't. So I don't have a problem with this as long as we stipulate that the porch remains open.
Yeah, I think I would only be in favor of, it is a pretty substantial coverage request. I think there's a couple things in the plan that maybe aren't necessary. But it sounds like they're pretty small coverage requests, like the bathroom. And I know that that wasn't really discussed in the papers as why it might be necessity. And I think maybe one patio might have been something I'd be a little bit more comfortable with, but they've made some pretty good discussion points here as to why maybe is reasonable in their favor as a family and the need that they might have. But I think we have to stipulate that those patios remain open space.
And I think the harder ask was the 5-car garage, but really, I think they adequately answered that with needing the additional 8 feet or so.
And the height.
And the height. I mean, otherwise, what's the height issue, I think?
If it wasn't for the height issue,
Yeah.
you would explore using the existing garage.
Right.
But
Can't, that's what I would have thought. Or if it wasn't for needing the ramp out the side, I would have said, why do you need two stalls here? If
Right.
it's one van, why not one big stall? But if they need 8 feet out the side for the ramp, and then additional room to turn, that's at least a whole stall there.
Right.
The stall's 10 feet wide, probably 12 feet wide, so. Do you want to call?
No, I don't have any questions. I think that, I'm in favor. I have to think that, the ask is quite large in terms of what we're looking for and from a coverage standpoint, but I think that they've answered all of the questions that I had before I even had to ask them. So I am comfortable with it.
My point of view is I think reasonable accommodations are crucial for people with disabilities. My only concern, I shared Jessica's concern, and I was a little concerned by a couple of inconsistencies in the materials that were provided. But it seems that my colleagues are not troubled by those.
Okay, I'd move that, we allow the accommodation as being allow the variance as being reasonable. A reasonable accommodation, and I'd also note that, while this is unusual in scope, there are, conditions on the land that are unique as well. But I would move that we granted on the reasonable accommodation basis.
Rich character, I would second that motion as long as we stipulate that the
Yeah.
porch remains open.
And that the screening stay on the southerly side.
Right.
The one I restated, so I'd move that we grant the variance on the grounds that's a reasonable accommodation, as long as the covered porches remain open. And that the screening on the southerly side remain.
Agreed. Second.
Jessica, do you want to start voting?
Carden in favor.
Dell in favor.
Ashton in favor?
Rich character in favor.
Alex Snyder in favor on the elevator and in favor on the garage, against on the extra patio.
Okay, you needed 4 votes, it passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, board. Appreciate it.
Have a nice night. Thank you.
Thank you. Guys had earlier. Yeah.
Only one today.
Thank you for coming, and we appreciate you coming.
Yep, thank you. Bye.
Bye. Okay, the next item is the approval of our minutes for January 14th and February 3rd meeting. Did anyone have any comments regarding the minutes?
I just have one small nit on the second paragraph on page 2, second line where it says, Mr. Carey said it. I guess it should be that.
Okay,
And other than that, I'm fine.
okay, you picked that up. Got it. That sentence there. Anyone else have any comments? Anything else? Anything else, Stephen, tonight?
That was it.
Wow.
I'd move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Chad, thank you for joining from Zoom.